Let's do this. Let's write some words. Sorry. I annoyed the. Apparently, I annoyed the cat. Gotta get some writing in. Got a lot. I got behind. I was gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Great ice cube. Thank you. If it was gray, it would be an iced tea hat. What's up, Frank? You miss me? Sons of bitches. Tom Duffy's there 41 months. 41 months. There's a 4 and a 1 after that. One more than 40. on here? Exactly, Tom. Exactly. Last week was insufferable without the Twitch stream. I can only imagine how shitty your week was. God, I don't wish that on my enemies, not having me around. Tom Duffy paid to tell a story. Bouchercon. That I would never guess that was the story. Even though I think you covered most of it in the video, I only watched half the recap video. Half? What else you gotta do? All right, I will take specific questions about Bouchercon, but overall, quite easily the best conference / convention I have ever been to. I was hoping some drones would crash, or maybe you'd shoot a missile through the triangle, or as Shelley calls it, the dining room. No, nothing as exciting as that. I did miss the last Skinwalker Ranch, though, because we were away last week. I think it was like the recap where they sit around and basically talk about all the fake things that happened. I'll watch it some point this week. How magnificent was Jordan Harper's mustache and William Boyle's beard? If you put a gun to my head and you said which looked better, I'd have a hard time answering that. But Jordan Harper, I'd never met him before, but we've been following him for several years, and I don't know, the mustache was. I said to him when I first met him, I said, "Hey, do me a favor, can I get a picture with you?" And he's like, "Yeah." Of course, I'm like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan," and blah blah blah. And I said, "What's up with the mustache?" And he laughed. He's like, "Yeah, people either love it or hate it." He's like, "I didn't realize it was going to be such a polarizing thing." I said, "Yeah, it's funny." But we had already walked through. So what they do is they give you, last year was 3, this year was 4. They give you 4 tickets in your welcome bag. And the bag has the giant binder, a little book of all the schedules. You get a free t-shirt in your size, bunch of swag, and they give you 4 tickets each, and then you go into this area, this huge area, and there's about, I don't know, like maybe 300, 400 books, piles of books from all the different publishers that are all ARCs or recently released books. And the tables are just, the tables are like, there's like 3 feet of books, like hundreds of books. Because again, there's 2,500 people coming to this, and 70% of them are readers. And so you go through and you pick some books. I'll do a video of that later. I picked 4 books, and my wife picked 4 books. Make sure we didn't pick the same books. And I was excited. I was like, I gotta walk it first because I want to see the new Jordan Harper. That's what I want. And they had the Everybody Knows book, and they had 8 copies on the table. That's an old book from him. And I was like, well, that sucks. So when I met him, I said, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was really excited to get your next book in advance of that. I've read everything you've put out. And he's like, you know what? The publisher's supposed to send me copies, and I will make sure I hold one for you. And I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, definitely. Definitely. He's like, well, definitely, I'll definitely do that. He's like, just remind me if you don't see me the next, saying, this was Wednesday, the first day. He's like, if you don't see by Friday, if you don't see me, then if I don't stop you, then stop me. I was like, okay, no problem. So when I did finally stop him, he was hanging out with Ace Atkins, who I realized is about 14 feet tall and wearing a giant cowboy hat at that point. And I just walked up to him, and he kind of looked at me, and then he looked at me again. He goes, I owe you something, right? I said, I hope. And he said, oh, okay, so they didn't send advance copies. And I went, oh. He's like, but here's this card. Here's my card with my email on it, but it also has my publicist on the bottom. It has her email. So send her a message. Tell her you met me. Tell her who you are, and she will send you a copy of it. He's like, I'm sorry, but they never send copies. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Not a problem. I appreciate it. And he's like, hey, no problem. I said, Mr. Atkins, sorry for interrupting you. And he was like, oh, that's not a problem, son. Something like that. It sounds like Bouchercon may be a bit better than Scares by about 1,000 times. So there's no drama. There's no drama llamas. There was no people being assholes and talking shit about other people. There was no people there going, my 8-year-old loves when babies get butchered and then Satan eats them. None of those idiot readers. It was good. There was no... again, it was just a huge convention, 2,500 people, and it was just awesome. There's Chad Lutsky. Tom says, Craig Johnson just went around calling everybody Haas and making finger-pointing gestures with God noises. Craig Johnson was awesome. He was funny. He was interviewed, and then he was on a couple of panels, and he told some really funny stories about Longmire, all of his books, and also the TV series, and basically how many times his wife yelled at him for doing dumb things, and he just was just like genuinely like happy. And then after the interview they did with him, then everybody met at he did a signing. So we had nothing for him. We didn't have any of his books, but we got in line and we walked up and we're like, can we just get a picture? Can we just get pictures with you? And he was so excited. Speaking of eating babies, he was so excited. He was like, "Yeah, great!" And he was like talking. He was like, "What do you write?" And he's really cool. He was cool with Shelley, and we're telling him, we big fans. And she was like, "You know what? I'm even more of a fan of yours now because you're so happy and positive and everything." He's like, "We're in New Orleans, and he was just really, really cool with his giant cowboy hat on. And so he was awesome to meet. Mike O'Connelly was a little more laid back, but he had a great, very dry sense of humor. A lot of the stuff he was talking, and we got a picture with him. And his interview was great. Alifair Burke interviewed him. Alifair Burke, who is the daughter of James Lee Burke. And at one point she talked about, on a panel, she talked about growing up the daughter of a famous alcoholic author, which is like, wow. How much bitching about AI did they do about it? None. We don't. Nobody talked about AI. There was no panels on it. There was nothing about AI. I got an interesting little AI side note though. In 10 days, 9 days now, we go to NINC in Tampa, which I've gone the last few years, and there's 2 panels there about AI, about the positives of using AI, not for your writing, but for your business, those kind of things. And I get an email from this random, actually the person who's running that, who's doing that presentation, and he's like, I'd love to invite you to go to Doc Ford's restaurant on Friday night. I'm only inviting 10 authors, and I have a thing. It's I'm going to buy you dinner, but then it's a sales pitch because, and it's free. I want to make, out of one of your books of your choice, I want to make an AI movie, a 90-minute AI movie out of it. And I said, no, thank you. Not good. He was like, I'd like to get a drink, but a certain someone is drying out all the bars in town. Yeah. Sounds like Scares of Care is the elementary school cafeteria next door to the sex shop down the piss-filled alley, and this con is the Thurston Howell III of conventions. Thurston Howell III, exactly. I mean, it was just amazing. Amazing was also running into Ron Malfi on day one, sitting at the bar, and then Saturday night when we went back up to our rooms at like close to midnight, Ron Malfi still at his seat at the bar. Oh, a panel that his authors how to use AI responsibly. What a novelty! Yeah, but I had a great time. I made a ton of connections. I met a bunch of publishers. We don't mind you. A bunch of publishers. A couple of agents I talked to. A lot of authors. I tried to take a picture. I had like a list in my head of, I want to get a picture with C.W. Blackwell. I want to get a picture with William Boyle. I want to get a picture with Jordan Harper. I want to get a picture with S.A. Cosby. You know, like that kind of thing. And I did. I think I hit everybody. And I got the picture with. I was sitting there with Malfi and Rebecca Rowland, who is a horror author, and basically then what's his name? R.L. Carpentier the third, and here we go. The FedEx guy just delivered a package, and the dog is home with me today instead of hanging out with Tom, getting tons of snacks and getting fat. So now she's gonna bark. Enough! There's nobody there. He's already in the truck. He's so tough. He's gone. All right. Anyway, you have a dog? Yeah, I have a dog. My wife has a dog. But Tom and his girl were watching her while we were at Bouchercon all week. Got her back last night. Shut up! God. Who were you surprised to see there? I've never heard it bark. It never barks. Except when somebody knocks on the door or goes near the door. Most of the time, though, in all fairness, when I do this during the day, if my wife goes to work, she brings the dog with her to work, and then the dog hangs out. Bill Cosby, father of S.A. Cosby, is hanging around the coffee machine all convention. Yes. Stop! Oh, well, I'm going to yell at her to go lay in her bed. There's nobody there. Shut up. Go lay down. Fungool. I think the dog knows Italian. That Rottweiler has the Osberg, yeah. Rottweiler. Hold on, let me get this. It's like an envelope, and I'm sure it's going to blow away. There's nobody there. Shut the F up. Shut the F up. Sons of bitches. So there's an author named Dennis Crosby who is African American and wears a hat. And this was the first time I met him. I saw him last year, but I didn't really talk to him. And somebody introduced me to him. And somebody said, he said, "Oh yeah, I've been already. It started." I said, "What?" He said, "Oh, somebody wanted to get a picture with me. They thought I was Sean. They thought I was S.A. Cosby." So I laughed. And then I saw him again hanging around, and I said, "Oh, S.A. Cosby, come get a picture with me." And he thought that was funny. And then Alejandro Notarisi was there. Great author. His debut book came out last year. Loved. We kept in touch. And he came running over to me. He's like, "Let's get a picture." So it was me, him, and Sean Cosby look-alike. That was fun. Brad Thor was a lot of fun. He's lively. He was like, I don't know. He's like all way too much Starbucks coffee all weekend. He was very cool. Cousin of Robin, Crosby and grandson of Dave. Yes, exactly. I just S.A. Cosby's alter ego outfit. How much would it take to get you to offer S.A. Cosby a pudding pop? Wow. $8. You give me $8, I'm going to freaking do that. So we went on Thursday night, we went to the Noir at the bar, which was great. Because of the way I am, I said, like, listen, it starts at 7:30. We got to leave here before 7. She's like, it's like an 8-minute walk. I said, I want to get there before 1,000 people show up to this tiny brewery. I said, then we can get some food. I'm hungry. So she's like, all right. So we walk. And an author said, somebody had said to him, hey, did you go out? Did you walk around yet? And he said, yeah. He says, and New Orleans smells like weed and sweat. And God, is that exactly 100% right. I mean, everybody's smoking weed everywhere outside. And it just smells. It was like 90 degrees. Everybody just stunk. I'm like, man, they don't sell deodorant in this town. So we go to the Noir at the bar. We get it. We're like the first people that show up. And they're like, yeah, it's upstairs. The stage is here. We get the perfect table against the wall to see the 10 different people reading their stories. I got the seafood trio, which is like shrimp and grits and 2 other things. You know, like those Cajun French name things. All very good. I did not put any hot sauce on anything. She put like this thing walking around with like 37 different hot sauces. I'm like, you can give that to somebody else. I might give in Cosby another chance. Just didn't care for his first book. I have 2 or 3 more of his. I was not a big fan of his latest book. And if you're referring to his true first book that he wrote, that they put out, All the Sinners Bleed, or his actual Blacktop Wasteland. Blacktop Wasteland is amazing. That's a great book. Too Much Starbucks. Did he talk like JC or as fast as JC? Sounds like New York City. Yeah, it's basically, it was New York. It was New York, but the streets were even worse. My Darkest Prayer. Shelley sent me a screenshot showing that po' boys with meat are indeed still considered po' boys. Yeah, so I had done the video, and she's like, oh, and I got a roast beef po' boy. And then Tom made a comment to me. He said, did you tell Shelley that that's not a po' boy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But then I did the Wimpy thing when she got home last night. I said, oh, Tom said. So she looked it up, and she's like, well, no, you know what? I'll tell Tom. And then she sent him the, Wikipedia or whatever of what you can put in a po' boy besides seafood. And they did at the convention. So, you go to some of these big ones, and they feed you. Wimpy thing, a euphemism of throwing me under the bus. Yeah, exactly. Totally threw you under the bus. Hey, listen, I wasn't going to have a bad night. And so at every thing where they fed us authors, it was the same food over and over. It was little slider sandwiches, and we had muffalata with the olives on it, and then we had a turkey or a ham po' boy, and it was basically a slider with a piece of ham folded up, a piece of American cheese cut in a quarter on top, and then some shitty sauce, like the po' boy sauce on the bottom. That was it. Well, a traditional real po' boy is, it comes in a roll. You have lettuce, you have tomatoes, you have other stuff in it. You have the po' boy sauce. You have like shitload of oysters or shrimp or I guess various other meats. So it is different. It's different because of the sauce on it, and it's different because normally if you're gonna get a sub or a hoagie or whatever, it's gonna be like an Italian with ham and cheese and stuff like that. A po' boy doesn't have a job, a hoagie does. Yeah. The protag in Darkest Prayer was essentially invincible and overly cool, laying pipe all over town, and every woman who looked at him wanted in his pants immediately. Yeah, I guess you could probably sum that up. I feel like with S.A. Cosby, because he's been touring for 2 straight years, it's probably hard for him to settle down and write his book every year. A po' boy hangs out of the corner with a tin cup. Yeah, classy sandwich, a classy seafood sandwich. I always order it without the po' boy sauce on it, so it's dry. I didn't even have one this time. I just had a lot of seafood. I had fried fish and shrimp at the whatever the place, the restaurant next door to the hotel. And that was freaking good. The thing was like this piled up. It was freaking delicious. And then we went across. I had some baguettes, bayonets. I said it wrong all weekend, so now I'm even saying it. I can't even think of what the hell the now. Those little things with powdered sugar all over my shirt. That fancy cocktail you got looks like a tiny Joe drink. Yeah, I got a painkiller. I love a good painkiller. Some rum and some coconut rum. It's fucking delicious. The lady was like, waitress was like, did you like that? I'm like, I just said to my wife, I could literally drink 100 of these. They're just so friggin' good. Just absolutely delicious. I did. We're at the bar, in the bar area, and that's the picture you see with me and Malfi and Rebecca Rowland and S.A. Cosby. Happened to be walking by when we were about to take a picture, and he's like, I'm gonna photobomb. I'm like, yeah, jump on in here. Ron was making mimosas at like 9 o'clock at night, and he had a giant thing of a giant thing of orange juice and a champagne bottle, and they just her and Malfi and Rebecca, man, they just polished that shit off. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But Ron basically was like, yeah, let's take a vacation to New Orleans. Let's see if there's anything going on. And then they signed up for the convention. He went to one panel, which is the panel that I moderated, because he was on the panel. And basically, mimosas at 9 at night. Did he think it was 9 in the morning? Probably. He hadn't really done much other than drink. But on my panel, he shows up late. Him and Rebecca show up late, and then I said, as the moderator, I said, here's what I know. I got out of the horror community, and the thing was basically about horror, blending horror into your thrillers, was the panel. I said I got out of the horror community, and I thought, man, isn't this awesome? I will never have to do another panel with the car wreck that is Ronald Malfi, and here we are. And then everybody left. Then somebody had brought up music, and I said, whatever the thing was, and I said there's this band that's just god awful called Veer. And then he leaned forward and laughed. He said, I think they're all right. And then somebody in the audience said, who's Veer? And I said, that's his band. Shelley was he actually, he was drunk, but he's Ron Malfi drunk. Him and Shelley had actually a great conversation about his career, his writing career, and I don't think she realized that he is a Big Five author, and he just signed a big contract with a Big Five company. And she's like, I just thought he was like just another horror guy who had like a regular job like the rest of them, and was just throwing out books that weren't making any money. I'm like, no, he's actually doing really good. And the band shit he loses money on, but he likes doing it. But it was again, it was fun. It was great networking. There were chairs it was floor 2 and 3, so I would sit down in a chair, and people were just coming up and just talking, and it was awesome. Never read Malfi, but I heard he's great. I have a few of his books too. Yeah, I've read a couple of them. He's pretty good. And then so this guy comes over and he's like, "Hi, I'm R.L. Carpentier." I'm like, "Okay, how's it going?" And he's like, "Daniel Volpe told me to find you." And I'm like, "Volpe? Like tiny little Volpe for what?" And he's like, "Oh, I know him. I work with him, or I worked with him, or something." So I was like, "Oh, cool." So he hung out all most of the weekend with us as well. He has 2 books out, and he's working on the 3rd in his trilogy. He was cool. I bought his first book. He does write very well. I don't know how he fits that in between the Veer vodka. Yeah, so now they're doing the Veer vodka. They're doing a beer. They did a beer, Veer beer, and he said there's something else coming, but that he wasn't sure. So his brother is the drummer in the band, and he does all of the actual non-band merchandising and promotion and all that stuff. Ron just basically writes all the music and all the lyrics, and then the other guys in the band, they're basically just playing some gigs with him. But it was great. I just to meet all these authors, big and small. There was a lot of And there was tons of readers. So just from me doing that one panel at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, all weekend people were coming up and talking about the panel. And at the girls' school, because Ron Malfi broke all the rules at the girls' school. But, and then there's like a thing called Discovery Zone on Friday from like 5 to 6, where you basically you sign up and you can just sell books. And I sold out of the Dirty Deeds one, and also Down and Dirty one. Sold out. Of course, I had like 3 or 4 copies of each, but sold a lot more books than I did last year at this. So I was happy. But then I'm like, well, I started with 3 series on the table. Now I got to take 2 of them off and try to sell. Let's see how many shakedowns we can sell. I still had 1 left though. So that was cool, and then a lot of people were coming through, and Shelley had done this QR code thing for my audiobooks. So people were like, "Oh, you have audiobooks," and then they were scanning it and then going, and then looking at my ACX thing this morning, and normally I have. My average is like 10 audiobooks a day I sell. I mean, I have 50 audiobooks. I average 10 a day, and then on that day I sold 49 audiobooks on Saturday. So I'm thinking it definitely had something to do with that. Readers who actually buy books, that's different from scares. Yeah, that is too. Yeah, they were coming around like, give me the pitch. And half the time Shelley was giving them the pitch for the books, and then they were like, and then one lady came around and she looked at Down and Dirty, and I had one copy of the first one left, and she's like, all right, I'll be back, and she literally walked away, and the next person, who was kind of standing off to the side, was looking, and I had a line. I always had like 2 or 3 people, and the lady walked up and she's like, "Is this the last copy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So she's like, "All right, I'll take it." So then that other chick came back like 5 minutes later. And she's like, "Well, give me your card, because now I'm gonna have to buy this." Sounds like a very supportive community that attends. Yeah, they're fans. So I did a thing called speed dating Thursday morning, and it's 40 authors, and I was put together with Stacey Johns, who has her first book out, and there's 20 tables, and we have 2 minutes. You like, she has 2 minutes to pitch your book. And I give out her bookmarks. And then the bell rings. And then I have 2 minutes to pitch my book, and she gives out my bookmarks. Then the bell rings. Then we move to the next table. They're all numbered 1 to 20. Move to the next table and pitch the book again in the 2 minutes. And there was 144 readers. Tables are packed. And it was awesome. And I know I got sales out of that. I know people were very excited, and a lot of times I would mention it was on audiobook, on Dirty Deeds and the First Coast Thriller ones were on audiobook, and they were writing that in their notes. They were taking notes like crazy. So I know that was very helpful. People liked me, which is nice, walking around talking to people, and also in the fancy book everybody's in. Some of these people have crazy, like, it's like half the page is their bio, like, you're overcompensating. So I don't know if you can actually, let me move this so I can make sure I line it up right. So like, this is, see where I am on there? See how small mine is compared to like that one or that one? And people like that because it says Armand Rosamilia is a full-time crime thriller and horror author who loves coffee, bourbon, and bourbon-flavored coffee. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida. It is too hot there most of the time. That's my whole bio. And people loved it. What's not to love when it comes to me? You know what I'm saying? Have they announced where it's going to be? They've announced where it's going to be the next 4 years. Next year it is in Calgary. And I am not going to Calgary. That's all the way across, not even across the country, all the way across into another country. I will not be there. But then the next year, 2027, is in Washington, D.C., 28 is in Indianapolis, Indiana, and 29 they just announced is in Miami. So those three I will be at. I should have come with all my kids' books. I would have made thousands. You would have. There was actually a lot of children mystery authors there. Then they have the Anthony Awards and all that. Canada, the tariffs on that are going to be crazy. Yeah, Chad can go to Calgary. It's almost like he almost lives there now. All right, guess where I'm going right now, though? Bathroom break. Get rid of these muffaladas. At the girls' school. What did I miss? Let me know when they'll be in Hohokus, New Jersey. I think they're planning Coxsackie, New York. Muffalata. It's like a cow sandwich. It doesn't matter. It's moo. Man, I need to get myself some friends in the children's book community. Muffalata is probably one of my favorite sandwiches, even though you can't even spell it. I dig the peanut butter and jelly Doritos. No, don't do that. Yeah, try it, Tom. The best part for me was also being able to meet some publishers and a couple of agents and authors who are obviously agented with big publishers, and to kind of get the, I guess a couple of them know me. They know my work, and they were like, man, you put out a lot of books, but you need to get to that next level. Because that's what they did. And I'm like, you know what, you're right, 100% you're right. That's what we're going to be doing. Peanut butter and chicken burger, gross. If you put peanut butter on a burger, it becomes exactly. And peanut butter is a condiment because I don't like peanut butter. Now I like peanut butter M&Ms, Reese's Pieces, but I don't like just peanut. Like you put peanut butter, I don't like the creamy. It's a texture thing for me, not really a taste thing. Even chunky peanut butter is too creamy for me, for my advanced tastes. But that's it. I was like, you know what? I went into this and I came out with a brand new game plan. The game plan is to wrap up everything I have started on this board, which is not a lot. Not start another 6-book series. Finish these 3 books with Tom right now, and then the next thing he and I do is going to be pushed back to later next year. And I'm going to finish up the 2 books I've started, the Southern Gothic noir thrillers. I'm going to work on those and look to get a literary agent, with the goal being hopefully to I have 2 years now because I'm not going to Calgary, so the goal would be to get to the Washington D.C. one and be up for an Anthony Award, which is the biggest award, which has a lot of cachet, unlike the stupid Stoker Award. People actually sell books because they've won an Anthony Award. So that's the goal. That's my two-year goal. I saw Michael Wiley there, the Michael Wiley. Of course, the last time I saw Michael Wiley was in Nashville last year, even though we live like 20 minutes from each other. Chunky peanut butter is classified as an enemy of the state in my house. Really? Yeah. I don't. Shelly has peanut butter. I have no idea what kind at all. Exoclotl, okay, would be happy to get 1 book done. You just got to do it. Somebody said, I looked you up on Amazon. It says you have 222 books. That can't be right. And I said, it's right. I said, it's probably wrong because I know there's a lot of them that were out of print. So you just got to finish. So I'm working on chapter 36 of 50 of the thing me and Tom are writing. I believe, looking at this, we're at almost 49,000 words. It's going to be way, way more than 63,000 words, which is fine. Southern Gothic is funny in the sense that if you ask for a Southern Gothic book, you're not sure if you're going to read about trailer trash, hooked on meth, or ghosts in haunted castle. Yeah. So if you, that's why if you do Southern Gothic noir, then you know that the ghosts are going to kill somebody, or the trailer trash is going to overdose on meth. You should do a panel on the 50 chapter book, right? One thing I've learned is that the 50 chapters is more important than the 63,000 words. Exactly. Well, sometimes, if you do like 1,300 words a chapter, I think is like, you can get to that 63. But sometimes, Tom writes more, and he'll do like 14, 15, 1,600 words sometimes in a chapter. And I usually do like 11 or 1,200. But in this book, I'm doing hitting 13s, and so we're getting way over, which is fine. Gothic Western noir, a cowboy with a chupacabra for a cattle dog. There you go. There's your story. Finish it. We did not write Shocker under the strict 50 chapter framework. No, we did not. That was when I got into crime thrillers, and basically I had read an article somewhere that said 63,000 words, and again 1,300 words or whatever it said, and you're gonna do, and whatever writer was like 50 chapters and 63,000 words was always their goal. And when I wrote, I don't think the first Dirty Deeds is actually 50 chapters though. I don't think it is. That's too far over. It's on the shelf. But that's kind of how I just came to, I'm going to do this. Now, the two things I'm writing are going to be longer, like 80 to 90,000 words for an agent. So there won't be any restriction on how many chapters they will be. Shocker was mostly, okay, I'm done with your shit. That was the last chapter. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. At some point, we got to get that box set out to the masses. So, hopefully, Beers and Fears Hoppy Halloween is selling some copies. I also had a couple of cosmic horror short stories that are, one of them is out. Another one is the Cthulhu Dreams anthology, which has a Kickstarter, which they've already hit the number on that one. I have that Extreme Zombie thing coming out on the 13th on Saturday from Evil Cookie Press. And so I'm thinking I got a shit ton of stuff coming out this year, which is good. I think I'm booked all the way into July of next year. I got a release every month at least, sometimes two, and whatever short stories still get approved. When did you find your unique literary voice? I've been doing this for 30 years. More than 30 years. My first short story was published in 1988. I was a senior in high school. And I wrote a lot of bad fiction in the 90s. Which is good because, you want to write your first million words, it's garbage, which people don't do now. They just write something and think it's great and put it out and it's garbage. That's me being an old man on a soapbox. I've been full-time for 14 years, able to write and make a living off of this. And so maybe not much past that, I finally figured out where Armand Rosamilia style is, no matter what genre I'm writing. What I'm comfortable writing, when I have fun, and a lot of people started buying no matter what genre I was writing in because they liked my voice and they liked my characters. My stories are character driven for the most part. Enough of this con talk. How many Waffle Houses did you visit? Zero Waffle Houses. Zero. Because we went to Biloxi on Tuesday. So on the way we grabbed like a coffee and and a bagel. And then we went to the casino, and then I had the buffet, and I ate a shit ton of shrimp and seafood dressing and all kinds of good stuff. But I did not eat a lot of garbage. I did not eat any bread or pasta or anything like that. No dessert. On the way back, we stopped at a pizza place about an hour and a half from home, and we got stuffed meat lovers pizza. And Shelly only ate a slice, and I ate 2 slices, and then we took the rest of it home, and I ate it for lunch. I ate the rest of it for lunch today. They're still clamoring for Shocker after all this. They are. I get messages every day or every never. We'll have to watch the VOD for the answer stuck in Twitch commercial. Chad says, I've got the Southern Gothic Noir 32-page book called The Lost Little Lamb coming out in about 3 weeks. Nice. So I did notice that, they had a Southern Gothic panel. S.A. Cosby was on it. And there was another author up there, and somebody said, where were you born? Like, just one of the other authors, I forget who. Where were you born? And they said, Alabama. And she said, oh, okay, good. Then I'll read your stuff. And then everybody laughed. Because I guess he lives in Chicago or something now. And S.A. Cosby's like, yeah, man, the readers are legit. You gotta... He's like, I'm in North Carolina. They're like, that's too far north. Like, where in North Carolina? Like, he's like, those readers ask a lot of questions. And I thought, you know what, that is definitely funny. Like, that would be, I'm sure if I get an agent and I got my book came out with a big publisher, I'm sure they would talk Jacksonville, Florida, and not this guy grew up in New Jersey. 0 Buc-ee's. We passed a couple. The problem with Buc-ee's is now they're half an hour away, so it's not like really a big deal. It used to be back in the day that Buc-ee's was almost you were out of Florida by the time you hit a Buc-ee's. So back, wish the AI would target the ads like ranch and supply or feed and seed. Yeah, they're just throwing shit up against the wall on that one. 0, I have nothing to believe in anymore. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, again, we passed a lot of Waffle Houses and a lot of Dollar Generals. But we did not stop in any of those. I don't even think we hit Dunkin' Donuts coming or going or coming. Which is weird. I had way more Starbucks coffee than anything else because that was what was in the hotel. That's what they kept serving us. Nice good cup of gross Starbucks coffee with your muffaletta. Went to Biloxi, got an ice cream cone, and rode on the Ferris wheel. Yeah, good times. My wife came back to the room with usually when she wins, she fans all the money on the laptop. There was no money on the laptop, so I didn't ask. I swear my town is the Dollar General capital of the world. That's at this point, that's every town. When I worked for them, their goal was to hit 10,000 stores, and I think they are well past that now. It's ridiculous. Every town you go into, there's a freaking Dollar General. You know what though? I'm glad they laid me off. I'm not gonna do this garbage. Now I could go to fucking New Orleans and eat muffaletta. Gonna Google how many there are here. That's a good question. And then let me know how many there are total. Like, I'm sure somebody has kept track of how many are, like, what's the most in any state. A lot of questions here you got to do. Oh, it's a $1 General and they were selling produce. Yeah, there's a Dollar General. They have the market thing. NGL, I immediately pass judgments on any town I drive through with 2 or more Dollar Generals. None anywhere near the Tex-Mex border. Think loose where there is one about 90 to 100 miles from here. I guess those Texans/Mexicans are like, yeah, no. We have our bodegas. We don't need your garbage. 14, yeah, that's ridiculous. After I pass the 3rd Dollar General, I can guarantee the next thing I will pass will be a pawn shop. Yeah. There are only pesos generales down there. I see what you did. You used French words. So overall, the best conference/convention I have ever been to. I gotta go to NINC now on the 17th. I'm gonna be honest, I'm looking forward to hanging out with the Tropical Author group. But but the panels aren't really looking all that great. And my wife loves it because she lays on the beach in Tampa for 4 days. So that's really why we're going. You don't need a Costco, Chad. You got $14 Generals. Since I live in southern Wisconsin, I could do Southern Gothic. Yes, you can. Also, no used bookstores or record stores. I don't think we have any record stores here anymore. We do have bookstores, though, at least, and a couple of good ones. NCIS and Bouchercon attract different attendees. Yeah, well, I won't say NCIS. NINC is just writers, and it's any genre, but you have to make money. You have to have books out, at least 2 books that you made $5,000 or more with each of them in a given year. And there's a ton of romance authors, making literally millions of dollars at this. The food will be better. And Amanda Ward is coming with us. Amanda's going to come over Wednesday morning on the 17th, and we're going to drive up, me, her, and Shelley together. Romance, ghost, vampire, cyborg, love triangle. There's a lot of last year was a lot of romantasy, fantasy romance authors, and reverse harem was a big one last year. But again, there's about 400 authors that go to this, so it's a lot smaller too. Bouchercon had 2,500 or more, and it's the same hotel they always have. Amanda Ward will get 100,000 words written on the way down. Yeah, probably. Yeah, NCIS is very elitist. But it's good because then you don't have idiots there that are asking questions about publishing and blah, blah, blah. Like when people do their presentations, there's no panels. It's people doing presentations about AI and about direct selling and just all kinds of random stuff like that. And so they're always happy because they don't have to explain the basics of things, you know. Like the guy from BookBub is there and he's like, all right, show of hands, does anybody not know how BookBub operates? And then nobody raises their hand. He's like, okay, good, I can skip the first 20 minutes of this. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of, you know, what we're doing. You should present the 50 chapter crime thriller. You know what, I should. But I'll get a ton of swag, and there'll be, you know, again, the food is good because at Bouchercon the only drawback was they had the muffalata and the ham or the turkey po' boy. That was literally lunches and dinners when they had events, when they served it. That was it. There was one that they had these giant freaking chocolate chip cookies, and them little fucking old ladies were in line, and they were literally taking like 6 and 7 of them on a plate. And by the time I got into the line, all the cookies were gone, and they had put out like 2 or 3 times they had put out cookies. All the cookies were gone, and then I'm watching them all, wrapping them in napkins and putting them in their freaking bags. Like, you assholes. There won't be someone telling an author that she hated the casting choices of the show. Yeah, like really good up there and sell it like you invented the concept, which you did exactly. Yeah, so that was that was funny. So, Craig Johnson is up there talking about Longmire, telling funny stories, and this woman stands up. It's like the last question on the panel. We have time for one more. She stands up and she says, "This is for Craig. I love your book. I've read them since the first one came out 20 years ago. I've read every Longmire book. I love them. I buy it the day they come out. I buy them. I love them. A couple weeks ago, I finally sat down and I binge watched the entire series." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he's smiling, and she's like, "I hated your casting choices." And he was like, "Well, which ones did you hate?" She's like, "All of them." And he was like, "Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't do the casting, but I thought they were excellent choices." And then everybody's like, "Yeah, it was really good. What are you talking about?" You know, kind of thing. And I'm like, really? You have the nerve to say that to somebody? And then when we went to see, we got in line, that lady was behind us, and she tapped me on the shoulder. She goes, I got to ask you a question. Did you think Lou Diamond Phillips was good in that? And I went, yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's good. Are the Longmire books Westerns? I haven't seen the show, but I thought they were. Yeah, they're all Westerns. They're Western thrillers. That lady was the Phillies Karen. Like, oh my God, yeah, everybody was talking about that too. That lady. But I'm thinking, shut up. Like, he told some great stories about the guy who, Robert Taylor, I think his name is, who was Longmire, who was Walt Longmire in the show. I think they're great. I've read them. I think they're great, and I thought the show was great. It's basically a sheriff. It's a good guy sheriff. He's not an alcoholic. He doesn't have his wife died. He doesn't have a ton of vices. He wants to do the right thing, and it's the smallest county in the most least populated state in the country, kind of thing. Yeah, it's like a modern. It's like a modern Western. There's no in the books he doesn't carry a phone because you can't get a phone signal anyway, and there's like an Indian reservation, and it's good. They're good. Just read the first one. Just shut the hell up and read it. But the guy who came in, they had like all these big names, young guys, when they started, and then the guy Robert Taylor, I think is his name, the guy who became Longmire, was an unknown, and he was like in his late 50s, and they brought him in, and then Craig Johnson said the problem was they want an unknown, but they want somebody in their 50s or 60s. And so if you're in Hollywood and you're unknown and you're like 55, there's a reason you're unknown. It's because you suck. And then everybody laughed. He's like, but luckily he did not suck. He was great. He says, and the only thing he did that every other person that came in that did the part. So the scene that they had him do was, you go to it's a part obviously in the books and in the show where at some point somebody gets killed and you have to go to the house and say to the mom, sorry, I'm sorry, your son is dead. And he said he was the only one out of dozens and dozens of people that when he started the scene, he does the knock on the door and the door opens and he took his hat off, his cowboy hat off, in the audition. And at that point, Craig Johnson said, he's like, I said, there's Walt Longmire. So they did the scene, and then he walked out, and then they immediately were like, that's him, right? Yeah, right? And they're like, go get him before he leaves. And they brought him in, they immediately signed him. It was just perfect. And then when Craig Johnson went on the set when they were starting to film, the guy who played Longmire came up and said, hey, I just want to thank you. And he said, oh, for what? He says, for not making Longmire in your books a 25-year-old, which I thought was funny. They also do, I didn't realize, they do a Longmire Days out there in Montana or wherever he is. Every year, they, oh crap, I thought you were Easy. That is crazy. I do kind of look like him. And so they do where all of the actors and actresses and everybody who's worked on the show, every year they do this thing, and the first year he did it he did a book signing in the park, and they had like 200 people there. And then the next year the town said it's Buffalo, Montana, or wherever it is where it's filmed. They said, can you get a couple of the actors could come? And he's like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And they all wanted to come, so they all came. And the town was like, oh, what do you think we're going to have? He's like, we might have like 10,000 people. And they had 116,000 people in this, literally it doesn't even have a stoplight in this town. So that's pretty good. But they've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years now. Not a big Western guy, but I'm up for checking out. I've only read one L'Amour book and didn't care. It's not that heavy of a Western. It's more of a small town sheriff fighting crime in his town with a Western background. So it's not like you're reading a Western and they try to put a crime in it. It's the other. I think you'll like it. And if you don't, I don't give a shit. Ain't my money. So yeah, definitely check that. Definitely check that out. Yeah, no, it's good. He's a very good writer. I'm gonna charge this thing, but yeah. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely. So there you go. Tom, I will eventually get this chapter done today. I mean, I've written, I don't know, about 100 words on it. As one who lives on a ranch, I like reading westerns. Some are good, but it's fun to pick out some of the nonsense and smile. Yeah, you never let a good story, you never let a reality mess up a good story. Are you a reader of Chuck Buda? Chuck Buda, Buda. He writes westerns. Again, he writes westerns based on watching westerns with his dad growing up, kind of thing. Never heard of him. Everyone's heard of Chuck Buda. Look him up. Chuck Buda. You have Kindle Unlimited. All of his books are on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, the Chuck Buda is right, Nick. Yeah. Excuse me. Oof. Plus, Chuck's book covers are chef's kiss. Yeah. I mean, except for the ones Chad Lutsky did, the rest of them are really good. I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, check those out. I think he's got like 3 series now of westerns. I got to go to the library. I got to drop off a book that's overdue, and I got to pick up a book. I think it never ends with this reading thing. Goodness, I'm tired. Back in Twitch Adland. A famous southern chick. Yeah, you know what? He's in Knoxville. By way of New Jersey. Just bought the cold dish, Armand. If you don't like it, that's on you. I think it was good. My mom read all of them, and then when the show was they had announced the show, she was excited, and I'm like, and so she's like, here, read this. She gave me the first book, and then I just ended up reading the rest of them. So it's on you. You owe me $10. Okay, I owe you then if you don't like it. But if you like it, you owe me 100. Finally, a good ad for a generator. A little weak, but it could power and impact. Yeah, there you go. Which is a reminder to everybody to subscribe or resubscribe so you don't have to watch all these stupid friggin' ads. It helps me. I appreciate it. And also, find me on YouTube, because all of these Twitch videos get dropped over there in an hour or two. And I have a ton of other videos on there. I'm doing a bunch of interviews with thriller authors. I have several more coming up. Once I get through Nink, on the 17th through the 21st, so like 22nd on, we're doing a bunch of new interviews and stuff. So basically, check that out. Make sure you are doing that. Okay, I appreciate it. I would greatly appreciate it. Link, yes, there is a link. I don't think you can put a link in here. Lincoln Park. Just go to just go to youtube.com and then my name, Armand Rosamilia. You'll find me. It's like Armand's Opinion is the name of the channel, I believe. If somebody knows how to put that link in there, then I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I have no freaking idea. But you can also watch my Bouchercon wrap-up one me and my wife did last night when we got home. And I do coffee of the day every day. And for some reason my coffee pot is acting up, and it exploded one of the K-cups this morning, and then the second one it ripped it so open that I get grains in my coffee, and this is my third cup, second I'm drinking, and it also had a lot of grains in it. I don't care. I'm gonna chew on some coffee. Don't matter there. Otherwise, thank you everybody for hanging out with me. Tomorrow there's a chance I will be back on. The Wasps Were Angry. Found it if you want me to post the link. Yeah, if you can do it. I think everybody is everybody else on the thing is on there. Yeah, see, it doesn't show up. That's fine. Yeah, Lancelot link. I don't know what that means. Anyway, just find me on there and subscribe. I appreciate it. And if you have a YouTube, then I will see that you subscribe to me, and I will follow you back because I'm a good person. Just don't unsubscribe then, because that's a bad person. All right, everybody. I will definitely see everybody on Wednesday. We will definitely do this again on Wednesday, and I might be on tomorrow. I might try YouTube Live again tomorrow, but who knows? Bye, Nick. Talk soon, folks. See you later, Chad. Late, whatever that means, Mr. Frank. Everybody else who's watching on and off, I appreciate it, and please subscribe or resubscribe. All right, I gotta go to the library.